Marking out the signals for the Baltimore Colts. Unitas gives to Amici. The Colts are the world champions. Amici scores.
It's amazing, sensational, dramatic, heart-rending, exciting, thrilling finish in the history of college football. California won the big game.
5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable.
This is Phil Steele.
This is Mike Burnham.
This is Wes Durham.
This is Mike Ashley.
Hi, this is Chuck Foreman, number 44 of the Minnesota Vikings.
Woo, mercy, this is handsome Jimmy Vane, the Boogie Woogie Man.
This is Coach Fry with Virginia Tech Football, and you are listening to Big Dog Sports Talk.
Are you ready to rock? Are you ready to roll? Okay, let's do it.
You're in the Doghouse with Rick Watson on Big Dog Sports Talk, presented by Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment. Join us in the Family Fencing Studios and chime in on the McClellan Chiropractic chat line. He's keeping cool with help from Little River Heating and Air, but this show is straight fire. And now, the big dog, Rick Watson.
And good morning to you. How are you? Finally, Friday edition of the program. Not sure what that blip was. That's not a good start. But we have made it to the end of week number 3 of the new program. Wow, who knew? Who knew? But here we are. Glad to have you with us. Heading into our first full weekend of football preview, starting high schools tonight. We've already been talking about that verbatim. It's been awesome. College football last night. It'll continue tonight. Of course, the big ones this weekend, culminating in the ACC doubleheader on Sunday. Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Notre Dame, and Miami's the late game. So we got a lot happening here on the program. I want to thank Family Fencing. They are the sponsor here of the Family Fencing Studios, and we appreciate them mightily. The very first sponsorship that we were fortunate enough to obtain here on the new show. Check them out. They have a no-dig installation system, locally owned. Finance options available. Get a free quote, Family Fencing, 540-200-8294, or visit familyfencingnrv.com. See, there's their logo. It's a fence. Isn't that cool? Because it's, family fencing. Good stuff all the way around. Thanks to McClellan Chiropractic, Mark Hunley and the crew over there in Pittsburgh off of Peppers Ferry. Went by there, and they sponsor, by the way, our chat room. Jump in. Let's get your game predictions for the weekend. Send those my way. That'd be fun. Give me your Tech, South Carolina predictions. Some of the other big games. But thanks to Mark and his crew. Latest technology, you name it, they have it over there. Hit me up over on the text line, by the way. I don't know why I hit the Bill Roth banner, but he's not here today. He was here yesterday. He's traveling today. 540-391-0788. That's the text line. So make sure you make use of that. We want to thank, obviously, Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, the presenting sponsor of this program. I believe next week we're going to start getting into more what they are getting down to and serious with up there. So thank you so much for being the presenting sponsor of this program. Jonathan, Tim, all you guys, great. Little River Heating and Air, 1095 Radford Street in Christiansburg. Go see Charles Lee. They're the best at what they do. And special thanks to National Bank, member FDIC, completing their first full week of sponsorship of this program, the exclusive banking partner of BDST on YouTube. By the way, yesterday we launched the Fourth and Goal show for the first time this year, myself and Jermaine Farrell. It's up now on the channel. It's a separate entity from the live show, but it's up, so please go watch and leave comments just like you do the show. And thanks to National Bank for being the presenting sponsor of the Fourth and Goal show. But check it out. Let me know what you think. It's always fun to work with Jermaine. But that is up on the channel right now. So that's what we will do with the offshoot shows, whatever we decide to come up with. They'll be recorded and then we'll upload separately. So there you go. Unless it's a live. Now, if I ever go live, it'll happen like this show. For instance, it won't happen tomorrow because I work all day today. We host a volleyball tournament at Radford. We haven't done that in a number of years. And then tomorrow we have a couple of games, so I won't be able to do any live hosting tomorrow. And then Sunday, I have soccer at home to broadcast. So we'll plan. I'll let you know well ahead of time. But I do want to go live and just watch games with you. If you're not at a game, we'll open up the chat room. I think that would be a lot of fun. Or let me know if you'd be interested in that in our McClellan Chiropractic chat. Did I get all the stuff in? I think I got all the stuff in. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Ryan Pry, BDST Fan Question of the Week. Brought to you by the attorney, Ryan Pry. And we had some good answers. We asked you about your favorite college football game to watch when you were growing up. And many people sent those here on the text line. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Michigan, Ohio State checked in a lot. Florida State, Miami. Obviously, there were a lot of Virginia Tech games. Virginia against Virginia, all the years against Miami. So we got a lot of that. Got a lot of Oklahoma, Texas, a few anyway. What else we have here? Some Notre Dame matchups against various rivals at the time. Yeah, a game that I mixed, that Kenny pointed out. No more Notre Dame, Michigan. Used to love that game. Notre Dame, Miami. So that was great. And so what we do, we ask a fan question of the week presented by Ryan Pry there on 701 West Main Street. And that's gone off to a good start. People are really responding to that. So that's great. That's great. As always, please go to the videos and like and subscribe. See right there? You need to like and subscribe. We're gaining a lot of subscribers. This week we've gained, I don't know, about 60, which is awesome, but we need to keep it going. We got to get 500 seems to be, of all the things I get from our handler here on the show, that's the magic number. Seems like that's when they start getting off your back a little bit. So let's get there. Tell people to subscribe. It's free. We're almost there. Well, not almost, but we're climbing. We're climbing. So please, please, please help out. Watch the video. Like and subscribe. And by the way, watches and likes count when you watch the uploaded things too here on the program. So I can tell already the internet's being a little weird this morning, so my apologies. Will Stewart joins us from Tech Sideline at 7 o'clock. We'll get back into Tech, South Carolina. He'll be there. Well, he won't be there. A lot of people will be there. Mike Ashley, and he's going to talk about, I mean, man, oh man, we've been on the air. By the way, we're completing the third week. So thank you so very much. I never thought we would make it through the third week. Wasn't sure, but here we are. The third week that Mike Ashley is, we've been doing the show. Unfortunately, we're talking about the passing of somebody. It was Coach Linderberg. We reminisced about that, his first visit. Last week, of course, it was Randy King. And Rick Snyder, who is a stalwart in Washington, D.C. sports. He was on the show. Mike and I were trying to think. He was probably on half a dozen times on the radio show. Rick Snyder passed away a few days ago. And it's terrible. But I had him on a list of folks I wanted to call to get on the new show. So I had not heard about it. I think it was one of our, maybe even Wayne, one of our listeners, let me know about it. And I talked to Mike about it a couple of days ago. And he's very upset. He was very close to Rick. Rick was had a great kind of a dry humor, the way he talked about sports. And I was going to call him to have him on the show. And now he's no longer with us. I think he had a sudden stroke, something like that, and he never recovered. So man, it's tough. It's tough. We will get into that with Mike a little bit. He's going to pay homage to Rick Snyder, amongst other things. So congratulations, Big Al. That's right. 375 games for Big Al that will culminate on Saturday or Sunday. He's leaving for Saturday for Atlanta, but of course the game is Sunday. Congratulations, Al. That is unbelievable. Absolutely. Yeah, it deserves a round of applause. That's awesome, man. That's a lot of dedication. Be nice if they would kind of like recognize fans like you. But hey, I get it. But that's awesome. Yes, rest in peace, Rick Snyder. Tough news here on a Friday. But it is Friday. We're at the end of the week. And we're together talking about football. High school football last night, high school football tonight. Go check out the 4th and Goal show. We got you covered. Good luck to all the teams. I'm glad to be supporting volleyball and broadcasting the tournament today, but I'd really like to be up at the Auburn High School tonight. It looks great, by the way. I don't know how many of the folks are up early watching from Auburn administration, but I walked around up there yesterday, my daughter, and we were, it's her old digs going to school there, and they did everything's painted. It looks great. It looks absolutely great. I know a lot of money has been raised to give it a facelift. Grass looks awesome. It's mowed beautifully. Got the logo in the middle of the field. Nice. Very nice. Congratulations, everybody. It looks great. And I will get up there. Won't be able to get up there, but yeah, nice stuff. Well, let's jump right into last night, shall we? College football was back. It did not go so well for Mike Vick. I tried to watch. By the way, it was cool seeing him there. It was really cool seeing him on the sideline. He's got a lot of work to do at Norfolk State football. Towson beat him. I think it was like 30-7, something like that. But the one thing I hate about the Norfolk State field is it's that nasty turf that when the lights hit it, it shines. So you had this glare off the turf. This is why I can't stand it in football. I can't stand the plastic. That looked terrible. I'm sorry. Nothing against you, Mike, or your program. And I know it's cheaper in the long run, but that really looked bad. If you watched any of the game, you know what I'm talking about. Wasn't that just terrible? The shine off the turf. Just don't play night games if that's going to be the case. 27-7 was the score. Towson beat Mike Vick in his head coaching debut. Not going to walk in and change the whole thing in one day. Looked like a very kind of some undisciplined things going on there, but he'll feel it as he goes. He's got a lot to learn. First time as a head coach. And we'll see if that develops for him. I hope he stays with it. I think he has a lot to offer people. And you know what? I get criticized a lot. Yeah, it looked like dew on the turf. It looked terrible. It looked absolutely terrible. Jason, thank you, by the way, for the family fencing sponsorship of our studio. He is an official, by the way, high school official. And there aren't enough good ones out there. He's one of them. He said, hey, he was at Auburn doing the middle school game. Field looked great on Monday. It did. I was up there. I walked up there. Excited for them to have Friday night lights back. Yeah, it's special. I'm very excited. I hate I'm going to miss it, but I will be at games this year. And kudos to the work that you do on Friday nights, because it's not easy. It's not easy. But yeah, that turf looked terrible. The light shining off that's the word. And you see it throughout college football. It's not unique to Norfolk State. It looks awful. Reggie, how are you, man? Good morning. Friday nights are special. Giles, Blacksburg. Yeah, big rivalry. Yeah, good luck to all the teams. I hope kids stay healthy. Hope we have some really good games. Everybody's excited. Don't you sense it? You just feel it. Tonight, not even getting into the weekend, the college football. Tonight. It's awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. But there'll be better days for Mike Vick at Norfolk State. Towson's no pushover at that level. They're pretty strong. They can play. But the field under those lights looked terrible. I mean, it just looked terrible. South Florida, speaking of looking terrible, how about Boise State, the first ranked team to just get blown out this year? 34-7 They didn't score after the first quarter. Broncos will go back to the mountains and ouch. Tricky game, man. Tricky game traveling across the country. That's a raucous environment. Athletes all over the field. You don't want to mess with South Florida. If you're a ranked team and you're trying to get kind of an impressive win and you're going down there or they're coming to your place, you better strap them on tight now. Those guys are serious. They looked really, really good. Wow. Boise, not so much. Rutgers put up 24 points in the second quarter. Greg Schiano, they held off the Bobcats who got ripped off 34-31. Now, we saw one of these things last night. Jason, I'm sorry. I don't mean to start on officiating already. Jason's going, here he goes. If you're watching it, I was. The game was tied at 31. This was with 7 minutes to go because I'm thinking, oh, Bobcats, look at Ohio. That was a radio job, by the way, I was offered back in like 2002, 2003, right after I was leaving Virginia Tech, and we just had child number one, and it just wasn't the right time to move to Athens, Ohio. But so I always had kind of an affinity for Ohio. Had a great interview there. Good people. Anyway, tied at 31. It was a 3rd and 6. Rutgers has the ball at like the 35. They get a big stop. They send a delayed safety blitz, quarterback backpedaling, and he kind of throws off his back foot. Incomplete. Bobcats are fired up. And then you start seeing the camera shot caught a couple of the guys looking around. And then you see the ominous late flag that came out. And I don't care how you want to say it. They showed it on replay. It was a terrible call. They called holding, defensive holding on the corner against the receiver that was completely away from the play. There was a little bit of a scrum going on as the receiver got off the line of scrimmage. The receiver was doing just as much as the defensive back. They called defensive holding. Nullified the stop, first down, and Ohio never got the ball back. Clearly, it was one of those calls, and you can tell me it doesn't happen all you want. Big Ten crew, Big Ten team, kind of on the ropes, in some trouble. They throw that flag late. Ohio sideline goes nuts. That's the part of college football I didn't miss. Terrible call. Nobody's going to focus on it because it's Ohio and Rutgers. They waited a long time before they showed the replay, and you could tell that the production booth was telling the broadcast crew, let's not focus on the call because we didn't really see much there. Yeah, just kind of, we're going to show it, but just kind of don't dwell on it. Go right into the next play. Okay, Steve, thanks. But in any event, Rutgers survives, 34-31. NC State gave up 10 fourth-quarter points against East Carolina, 24-17. The Hauser kid went nuts. The quarterback for ECU threw for 366 yards. And again, I watch NC State, and Wolfpack fans, if you're out there, I'm not trying to criticize your team at all, but I just watch NC State football, and I just go, okay. Yeah. Jumped out, I think, 17-0, and then ECU kept methodically coming back. So what I'm saying is, Tech, when they play that game here in a few weeks, that's not going to be a game, depending on how Sunday goes, and I know depending on how the record looks. That's not going to be an awe-inspiring, oh, my goodness. It's not like going down into the horseshoe, which Tech has done before and won. Going down to LSU on a Saturday night, which Tech did not have much success. I mean, you go down to the Raleigh, take on NC State. I mean, it's not like you're feeling like you're going to come out of there with a sure L, right? 24-17, so the ACC gets a win there. UCF, much like South Florida, always strong, athletic. Beat Jacksonville State, who was a very good team at their level. 17-10 was the final. Must have been a barn burner in Akron, Ohio. 10-0 Wyoming. They scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. So in other words, people who went to that game sat through a 3-0 game until about the 3-minute mark of the fourth quarter. It's Mac action. It's Maction. Now you know why Mac games in conference usually on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But Wyoming got the win, the Cowpokes. Good morning, Roddy. Yep, happy high school Friday night indeed. 10-0. Tell you what, when you're sitting there and you're an Akron, if you're an Akron fan or you're a coach, how do you feel? Well, you know, we got shut out. Next question. It's going to be a fun practice on Monday. Or they might be out there tomorrow. I mean, Wyoming, they produced Josh Allen. They've had some success on the gridiron, but, not necessarily known for being a defensive juggernaut in that league. That's all. That's all I'm saying. 10-0. Duke knocked off Elon 45-17. Duke put up 35 points in the second half. 35 points against the fighting Phoenix. Landon Clark, the former Radford High School star, went 10 of 16, 101 yards. He ran for 61 yards and a touchdown. He is a dual threat, just like he was for the Bobcats when they were winning state championship. But Duke, it's a rival game, right? It is, you have Duke in Durham, you have Elon in Burlington. It's a close drive. I think they've played quite a few times over the last 10 years. So, obviously a different level, but nonetheless, still. Good start for the Dukies, who you heard Phil Steele say it's his dark horse team in the league. Congratulations to my pal, Todd Grantham, Oklahoma State. Pistols firing! Beat UT Martin 27-7. I text Todd this morning, congratulated him, and he just texted back just now. He says, hey, fewest points allowed by an Oklahoma State defense since September 17th, 2022. Coincidence? I think not. Thanks, TG, for reaching out this morning. He might be watching. Good morning, Todd. We're going to get him on the show here soon. Pulaski County stalwart. And thanks, Todd, for beating the hell out of me every practice, every two-a-day. Nebraska game I did not make it through. Started watching it. In Arrowhead Stadium, beat Cincinnati 20-17. A lot of people like Nebraska this year. We'll see. Good win for them, though. People are going to say, well, they only won by 3. No, that's Cincinnati's formidable. That's another power league opponent. That's not just, going in and playing Stony Brook, who went to San Diego State and lost 42-0. But that notwithstanding, that's a good win for Nebraska. Raiola, who tries to impersonate Patrick Mahomes, and God, ad nauseum. ESPN just kept showing Patrick Mahomes, who was there, and showing some of the things Raiola did. It just, boy, one thing I tired of very early was the things that ESPN does during its college football coverage. I just had the thing on mute the whole night. I just can't do it. Wisconsin beat Miami, Ohio, 17-0. Boy, the MAC teams really spreading the offense around on the first Thursday, huh? Miami gets shut out. Akron gets shut out. Going to be some barn burners. Going to be some offensive fireworks when those two get together later in the year. You know, I know you're not going to win most of the time when you go on the road and you're playing at Wisconsin. When you're playing a Power 4 on the road, you're just getting a big paycheck. I get it, but you can't score. I mean, Akron, you were at home. It's Wyoming. Come on. It's like, remember the movie Stripes? Remember when they decide they have to go in and save their fellow troop members, and the people were taken in behind the enemy lines. And you had the scene there. You expect us to go in there and da-da-da-da-da. Come on, man. It's Czechoslovakia. It's not like it's somebody else, Russia. We go in, we go out. Whatever the line is. Funny. Good movie. Anyway, 17-0. Tune in to Maction. You can take a nap for 2 hours and 45 minutes and no one will have dotted the scoreboard. Only in Mac football. Yeah, I'm going to hold my Virginia Tech game prediction until Jen, Wayne. Jen will be here. It's our first week of picks. Now, she did text me last night and said she's under the weather. And, of course, being as sympathetic as I am, I immediately shot back, oh, sounds like the Gamecock excuses are already starting. Is that what it's going to be like Sunday evening? Shane Beamer is going to have to explain to a lot of Gamecock people why they showed up in Atlanta and walked out of there with an L. Didn't feel good. Got the sniffles. So she's saying that she's going to try to join us, but she may not be on camera today. That's what she says. I just hope she's here later. We'll keep you updated. But she did. She said she couldn't be on camera today. Wow. Crowd stumbled quickly and got restless. Yeah. Sorry. I like the little sound effects there. So we'll keep you updated on Jim. But I believe that's all the games of note from last night, right? Did I leave anybody out here? I don't think so. Unless you wanted an update. Bowling Green did beat Lafayette 26-7. I know there were a lot of people that were. And I'm telling you, you want to talk about a football rivalry that maybe exceeds all others. Delaware beat Delaware State 35-17. That's the Blue Hens versus the Hornets. Natural predators in the wild that just really can't stand one another. Oh, my goodness gracious. You get a blue hen and big old nest of hornets together. I mean, it's a Donnybrook. Oh, doctor. But I think that's everybody. Oh, Minnesota. There you go, another Big Ten team. Minnesota beat Buffalo 23-10. So a pretty good night for the Big Ten. If I'm not mistaken here, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Minnesota, they all, and Rutgers. 4-0. Wow. 4-0 for the Big Ten last night. Although Rutgers probably should have been in a better position to lose. That's right, Richard. I don't know. That's a great question. Thank you. Is Jen going to be under the weather at the game on Sunday? I don't know. Sounds like me. Maybe she's done a little maybe a little too much pre-training for the weekend. Right? We'll find out. It's a great question, Richard. I'll bring it up with Will here soon. Yeah. Maybe she wants to get an early start. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe she's just trying to get an early start on things. I don't know. I hope not. But we will see. Wayne asks, former Hokie coach at Bowling Green, right? Who was there at Bowling Green that was on Tech staff? Let me look here. David says, Jen, already too many bourbons. That's what I'm guessing, David. I'm guessing the training started and she didn't recover too well. Because much like her South Carolina Gamecocks, there's probably a lot of assumption there. Yeah, Eddie George is the head coach now. That's right. He used to be. Yeah, they do Tech. Yeah, the former Hokie was the coach there. Not any long. But I believe that's what it is, David. I think we saw some training maybe go awry with Jen. But yeah, if she can't be here on Friday, how's she going to travel to Atlanta if she's too sick? What I think is this is year 16 that she and I have done the picks throughout the history of the show. She's never won. So I think she's just trying to delay the start of another throttling by yours truly. That's the only thing I can come up with. That's right, Richard. Fuma great, Eddie George. At Bowling Green. Fun day tomorrow. I'll miss them all. Or at least the early games because I'll be working. Texas, Ohio State. Wow. I mean, that is what we need a lot more of. What we get at noon tomorrow is what college football needs to happen every week. Texas, Ohio State, that's 1-3. Syracuse, Tennessee, because you'll be interested. I'll be interested to see how Syracuse handles that. Keep in mind that's in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, not down in Knoxville. No, the checkerboard end zones, which, by the way, is awesome. Tennessee, you get the checkerboard end zones right. It's beautiful. But when you wear the gray and the black, just stop. Even a game like this, Mississippi State Southern Miss tomorrow at noon. That's kind of cool. That's the kind of game you wish was on like a Thursday night. That'd be a fun watch. But that's your noon games tomorrow. VMI Navy's at noon tomorrow. Love that. Cadets and midshipmen. Probably won't go well for Navy, but who knows? I mean, for VMI, but who knows? Then you segue into the afternoon games. Good luck to the Mountaineers of West Virginia. They take on Robert Morris. Old Dominion, you know, that vaunted Virginia Tech rival that I know you all get so excited about when they show up on the schedule. Traveling to Big Ten country to get a big check against Indiana, Kurt Signetti's squad. So the early part tomorrow is a lot of fun. David says to celebrate the Friday Night Lights, what high school has the best concessions? Ooh, I'd have to either talk to somebody who covers a lot of different games and doesn't get a chance to eat dinner, so they're getting something there. But I'll tell you this. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a better chili dog on a Friday night than the than the concessions up here at Auburn. Many years ago, the offensive coordinator at Auburn, when Steve Wright was the head coach, Mark Love, who I used to broadcast games with a lot, was the offensive coordinator at Auburn. And I would get done with my high school game on a Friday. I think then I was doing games for the Cougars full-time, Pulaski County Cougars. Let's go burgundy and gold tonight down at Northside. And they would always, whatever was left over, if people didn't come get it, they would take it into the locker room, for the kids, for the players. Garrett, don't worry about it. Fox and YouTube got their issues resolved last night just before midnight. So I got that email. Everything is good to go. Let me read it to you, Garrett. I told you this was likely going to be the result. But hang on, Garrett. Now that you mentioned that, it was, I know a lot of people were concerned. Let me find it. What is today? Today's Friday, right? Okay, let me go back. Here we go. Garrett, you ready? Hi, Rick. We're happy to share that we here at YouTube have reached a deal to keep Fox with their content on for the foreseeable future. That means you will continue to have access to Fox channels, including the Fox Broadcast Network, Fox News, and Fox Sports, and any Fox recordings in your library. We're pleased that this deal has been reached to preserve the value of our service for our subscribers. And so you don't have to worry about it any longer. They are good to go. They are good to go. So it makes sense. And I think I was chatting with Wayne during the week about this, and I told him, I said, this is going to get resolved because of one entity. It has nothing to do with college football. Have you ever heard of something called the National Football League? I don't know if you know this. They're pretty powerful. They're pretty powerful. And the NFL was not going to allow something that has blown up like YouTube. I mean, it proves that YouTube's blown up because here we are on YouTube. They were not going to allow something that the Sunday Ticket is exclusively presented on now. YouTube TV bought the Sunday Ticket a few years ago. Do you think that the NFL was going to allow these negotiations to end? Come on, man. Now the Fox and YouTube people will act like, oh, we hadn't. When they announced the extension a couple of days ago, I said, well, that just means they're close. And whoever it was, whether it was Goodell or whoever it was in the NFL, said, okay, guys, let's just drop the charade. Let's get this done. Now, I don't believe Sunday Ticket would have necessarily been affected. But, even the games are on Fox. I think that's a separate entity, but he gets kind of mucked up there. No surprise at all. No surprise at all. Good morning, Jimmy, in the McClellan Chiropractic chat room. I love the chat. This is great. I love to be able to see everybody being active. So, Garrett, rest easy. Everything's good. But I'm with you 100%, brother. I get so sick and tired. And that was something when I was with DirecTV. It seemed to happen almost every other month. We are in a dispute with so-and-so network. We may not have programming. And they would always tell you to contact your local provider, your local station. Like, what is that going to do? You get some guy who's sitting there trying to figure out how to run the soundboard. Hello? DirecTV dispute with what? Oh, our station? We don't. Hang on, let me ask Hank. Hank's over there holding two cups together with string. Yeah, call your local affiliate. No, Wayne, no pregame at Panera. No. Not going to happen. Yeah, Scott Loeffler was the head coach. Thanks. I couldn't think of the name at Bowling Green. He's now the Eagles quarterback coach. I like the concessions question, David. We'd have to have people who've sampled various items. The Eagle Claw is great at Auburn, I'm told. I haven't had that. Garrett, I'm the same way, brother. I had DirecTV for 20-some years, and they had exclusivity to the direct ticket, of the Sunday Ticket. So I'm a Broncos guy. I can't see my Broncos here much. And I had DirecTV because of Sunday Ticket. When Sunday Ticket, DirecTV, AT&T, shocker, lost it. You talk about something that got destroyed quickly when it got bought by a big corporation, DirecTV. Yikes. You talk about going to hell in a handbasket. So when it went to YouTube, I made the switch. And I haven't looked back. It's great. YouTube's great. YouTube TV is great. But that was never going to become an issue. They were not going to let that get to the, 11th hour without a deal. And they won't announce it. They won't bring it up. But the NFL got involved. It's common sense, just kind of like BlackRock and Vanguard. By the way, congratulations to Common Sense and non-political diatribe BS for winning, and Crackle Barrel dropping its new branding and going back to the old guy sitting there. What is he, Uncle Herschel, sitting there with the barrel? What that was, I have no idea, but they spent over $500 million on the rebrand, and now they're trashing it because people said, no, this sucks. Why are you doing this? And it's gone. It's gone. So congratulations to everybody. You had this CEO who they hired, this lady who came out and goes, well, we're really pleased with the early response. And then all the responses were negative. So they spent $500 million. You can look all this up on Forbes. You can find it on X. They have the outline of what happened with all that and what's going on in this world and the subtlety behind these politically motivated multi-trillionaire industries like BlackRock and Vanguard, who, by the way, own Disney, which is why Disney sucks. So what they did, one of the most beloved, probably universal places to go eat is Crackle Barrel. Correct, Reggie. They could be comparing this to how big of a flop New Coke was back in the day. The New Coke that tasted like this beverage that I enjoy in my Bigfoot koozie provided by Wayne from Ohio. By the way, I got to show you something else. Hang on. It's Friday. It's the end of the week. We kind of just go off the cuff here. Look what Louise Baker got me. Now, I don't know if you can see this. This is a Yeti cup, by the way. I'll tell you what. People have been so nice with these things that I have for my beverages. Look at this. It says, Rick Watson. Can you see it shining there? Rick Watson, the big dog. And on the back, Louise Baker, Long and Foster Realtors. Thank you, Louise. That was a lot of fun yesterday. I had lunch with Louise. She gave me that. Got some great stuff. Anyway, so this CEO, who's, by the way, after they made the announcement 2 days later, the stock value of Crackle Barrel fell like $250 million in less than 48 hours. So it cost them $500 million. They lost that much stock value. So basically, she cost them over $700 million, and she's keeping her job. All because she decided to put Cracker Barrel with nothing, just bland, faceless, emotionless writing, which is what BlackRock's trying to do. They're trying to subtly, I guess, sculpt out society, Generation Z, through pop culture. It's the way it's been for, ever since pop culture became a thing. That's what people try to do. They try to mold behaviors, mold voting habits, mold whatever. But people said, hell no, we're not going to do it. So congratulations to us. Crackle Barrel is going to remain the same, and the rebrand is over. How she keeps her job, I don't know. But go look at all these companies that have done all this to try to make themselves more attractive for a demographic that doesn't care about your product, i.e. Jaguar, Bud Light, you name it. Why? But anyway, it's over. And I love Crackle Barrel. And that was really upsetting to see. They try to change all the stuff. The whole thing is stuff on the wall. You go into the store, it's just all sorts of stuff. And they had like 90% clothes. What? I mean, if I'm in the Christmas spirit, right, and you're in there and you're eating in Crackle Barrel in November, December, and you see like a cool little lit up snow globe, hey, that's what I want. I'm going to buy that. I had a good meal. Now I'm going to buy this. Oh, look at that! More blouses hanging up on the hooks now. Blouses on the hookers. I about said that. Yeah. It's Friday. It's gonna be a long day today. Oh boy, that late broadcast tonight, game number 4. I'm gonna be in fine form. Eagle Claw is chili and cheese dumped right in a bag of Fritos. You eat it right out of the bag. Bath County apparently has great hot dogs. See, this is what I love about the best audience. I still say in radio, but now the best audience on YouTube. You know things, and I learn from you. All right, so I'm in already with the Eagle Claw. I'm in. Are you kidding me? Chili and cheese dumped in a bag of Fritos? Yeah. That's true. The one in Christiansburg, by the way, nothing had changed. I think the one in Christiansburg was like, nah. I think certain more rural Cracker Barrel locations are like, yeah, we're going to make them come in and do it themselves. We're not going to change anything. That's right, Wayne. I'd like to think that. YouTube added Big Dog. Stock price just soared. I mean, imagine the pitch. She goes in, hi, flows back her hair. I've got a great idea. We're so tired of the old man sitting by in the chair, sitting by the barrel, right? I mean, what does that mean to people? Like, let's change it up. I got a great idea. Let's just put the words Cracker Barrel and eliminate everything else. Huh? Yeah? What do you think? Let's do it. And people actually went, okay, let's do it. That's a great idea. Or the guy, president at BlackRock, was sitting there on a video call. This is the way it's going to be done. Oops. FAFO, Cracker Barrel. It's going to take you a little while to bounce back. Now, I know you're a multi-billion-dollar company. And I know it's not the workers. It's not the managers. None of those people. Nobody wanted that. Nobody. How do you make a decision you know nobody wants? Why do you do that? Anyway. But I will say that to bring all this back to where it started, I will say that the chili dog at Auburn High School football games are delicious. If you haven't had one, get one tonight. They used to have pretty good burgers too. But anyway, my story was that Mark Love, who was the offensive coordinator, got a little distracted there with the whole Cracker Barrel thing. Nothing surprises me anymore in this world. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And the motivations of people. But so they used to bring remaining food sometimes to the locker room. They didn't want to just throw it away. And Mark would always say, hey, Mark, grab me a few chili dogs. Yeah, I'll be coming back from either traveling to Roanoke, coming back from Cave Spring or Northside, or coming back from Kenneth J. I'll be driving back. I'll just meet you because I didn't live in Rainer then. Where the hell did I live? Oh, yeah, I lived in Blacksburg. And he lived in Chilhowie, so we could meet. And he would hand me a bag of the chili dogs. And I would have chili dogs all weekend. Yeah, true story. It's great stuff. Great stuff. So get one tonight if you haven't dived in, get one tonight. So you know that I'm telling you the truth. Okay. And all of a sudden now I've learned about this Eagle Claw thing. What I want is, and this is going to happen, I don't know when, because I haven't looked ahead of my own schedule, but I'll announce it here on the show. We're going to just have you, the best audience in YouTube. We're going to have the college football viewing party here. We're going to have people over. We're going to have the grill going. BYOM, Bring your own meat because I'm not buying all that, but I will prepare it if you so desire, or you can have the grill. It's fine. I will supply all of the propane and propane accessories. Bobby, I'll do all that. And we're going to have that, and we're going to film a lot of it, and we're going to put it up on YouTube. I have to get your permission to do that, but in other words, I can't just film people and just put it up. You'd all have to probably sign this. It's not me, but anyway, that's going to happen at some point. And I want people to bring things like the Eagle Claw. I want to try all these things. We'll start before the noon kicks. You have to. You can't start. See, that's the thing about it. If you're going to have something like that, a day of college football, I don't want any of this, hey, I'll show up at 3:30 when the secondary middle afternoon games start. No. I'm going to have a guy like, I don't know, a guy like Jaws from Moonraker. Remember that movie? I'm going to have a guy like that down at the bottom of the driveway. You know, he's going to be standing there. Bulging muscles. Going to kind of be the guy who's going to pull the red the red velvet rope. And if you show up at 3:30, and then if you're working, it's one thing. But you're going to have a boss's note. But if we're going to have an all-day college football party, we're going to have an all-day college football party. Don't be showing up at 5:30. Because Jaws isn't going to let you in. All right? And Wayne, I'm sorry. You know I love you and Carol. But if you bring in a bag of Impossible Burgers, Jaws not letting you in. He will inspect your food bags. Will Selma be there? Rodney, if Selma was here, I sure wouldn't be inviting the community to my house. Homemade salsa. Yeah, homemade salsa. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Homemade salsa is just fine. I'm not a huge salsa guy, believe it or not. I'm not against it. It doesn't go against everything I believe in and hold true as a human being, like vegetables and salad. But no, salsa is fine. It's just fine. You can bring salsa. Chips and salsa. I like queso. Yeah, that's fine. Hokey Bob says, sign some paperwork, ? Is there some NIL involved? Well, no. I mean, there might be a tip jar. I'm just saying that I can't just take footage, which I'm going to do. I'm going to just go around my phone, which is cool now that we have as many subscribers as we do. By the way, please like and subscribe. We need subscribers. Maybe we'll be celebrating. Hey, did I just knock off my camera? Maybe we'll be celebrating a subscription increase. But you got to get to 500. So we're at 377. Make that your weekend goal. Get as many people as you can subscribe to have YouTube. Tell them it's free. They don't even have to watch all the time. Just please, we need your help. But no NIL involved. But I can't just, put people on there. So there would probably be, I'm serious, this is a serious part. It would probably have to be some kind of little thing. Hey, it's cool if we take footage and you're here. That's all. That's all. But yeah, I'm going to do that. That's going to happen at some point. Now, if you're going to want a salad, I will have a don't ask, don't tell policy. if that's something that you feel like you need to have, why you would want to, and why you would come to an event like this thinking that salad is somehow going to be, you're going to be ridiculed, whether, loudly in your face or silently while you're sitting there, while the rest of us are carving into whatever just came off the grill. but I don't want to come across as completely unsympathetic to the healthy eaters. But really, is it as healthy as you make it out to be when you pour all that salad dressing on it? When you go ahead and put a bunch of chunks of meat on it anyway to make it what? What are you doing when you do that? To make it have some kind of flavor. If you want to come here and you want to impersonate a rabbit, you know what? That's fine. That's your choice. But if you come here in the evening session only and bring a salad, Jaw's not letting you in. Jaw's going to say no. But I want to do that. Seriously, that'd be fun. That'd be fun. I don't know when. We'll see if we can get it organized. There's got to be some weekend I'm not doing anything. There's always usually one or two, where I don't have games before basketball season. So we'll do that. So there you go. Good stuff. Good stuff. Will Stewart coming up here momentarily. I guess I should send him the invite, huh? Because I've been pretty excited about the we'll ask Will about all this. Now, Will, I'm going to try to get Will here. All right? All right, so he now has his invite. I better tell him. Yay, Will says he's here. Will, you have your invite now. Invite sent, William. Thank you for joining the McClellan Chiropractic Chat. By the way, before we get started here with Will, I want to remind people that the studio here in Reiner, tonight, the bright lights, where I live here on Schoolhouse, you can see the lights from the stadium and hear all the sounds. I love it. It just gets me going, man. Family Fencing Studios here in Reiner, 540-200-8294 at familyfencingnrv.com. They have a no-dig installation system. There's no mess in your yard. Unlike the people put in the fiber optics, still a mess in my yard. We're just not going to tell anybody, any of the residents, what's going on. We're just going to show up one day, start digging up your yard. We're going to leave these orange things hanging out of your yard for a month. Then we'll come back. We'll half-ass it, and then we'll cover it back up, and you'll be fine. They are locally owned fence experts in the NRV and Southwest Virginia, specializing in vinyl, aluminum, wood, and chain link for residential. 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. Thanks to McClellan Chiropractic. Your chat room is buzzing, Mark Hundley. Thank you so much for your sponsorship. You're awesome. Great facility, by the way. Good Lord. Do you know they're now popping people's backs? They don't even have to use equipment anymore. Thanks to Pulaski County Sports and Entertainment, presenting sponsor of this program. Thank you so much, Jonathan Sweet and Tim. You guys are great. So honored. It's where I'm from. It's where I live. It's my home. This is my new home here in Reiner, but that's where I am. Thank you so much. Little River Heating and Air. Charles Lee said he's already heard from people, been watching. It's great. Tell anybody that you go to that you've seen us talking about. That's what it's all about. It's why they support the program. Thank you. Thank you. Charles will take care of you as we segue out of the warmer weather into the cooler weather now, football season. He's awesome. He's awesome. Thanks to Ryan Pry, the attorney. 701 West Main Street in Radford for our BDST fan question of the week. We got some great answers on the rivalry games. And obviously, thanks to Lara Ramsey, exclusive bank partner of the program, National Bank member FDIC, here on BDST on YouTube. And they're also the sponsors of the Fourth and Goal Show, which is also up right now as a separate entity on the channel. Joining us now on the program, and there he is in all of his glory. Hey, he's got a little different background.
Yeah, I'm on the road.
He's on the road. Where are you? I like that sign behind you.
What does that say? There's a couple of Guinness signs behind me. I'm at a college buddy's house in Buford, Georgia.
Yeah, it is a Guinness sign. It's like an old Guinness sign. That's cool.
This camera is terrible.
And the mic's terrible too.
Yeah, so they're very. I mean, do I sound okay? Can the listeners hear me?
Yeah, it's fine. We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we got you. Are you going to come to the big college football bash day?
I don't know what that is, so no.
We're going to have peeps come up. We're just going to have like a college football day when I'm not doing anything. We're just going to have people come over. We're going to grill meat, have beverages, and have all the games on all the TVs. Come on.
Adult beverages?
Of course.
You have extra beds at your house?
The floor counts as a bed.
Not when you're 60 years old. You can try.
Right. So you're traveling, and I guess this means because you're on your. What are you doing? Where are you? Did you say? I'm sorry.
I'm in Beaufort, Georgia, which is about 20 or 30 miles north of Atlanta. So I'll be heading into Atlanta later today.
How's your vibe, man? How you feeling as we get closer and closer?
Well, do you want to get into the specifics of it? Because, South Carolina's going to have the two best players on the field probably, but they got some issues, man. They got a lot of questions. They lost a lot.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
They lost 5 draft picks on defense to the NFL, and their defensive line got gutted by the NFL.
He did.
So they're not sure, what they're going to have on defense. On offense, it's all about Lenoris Sellers. I got to admit, I don't know much about their offense other than Lenoris Sellers. They had a transfer running back get cleared to play this week by the NCAA, because that's how the NCAA rolls. They like the SEC, and they just check off everything the SEC needs. So, Rick, first games are crazy. Anything can happen. And yes, I think we'll see if this turns out to be true, but I'm looking at South Carolina. There's just a little bit too much hype around them. I just have a feeling.
I agree.
And I wish Jen was here to hear this.
Oh, she's going to hear it.
I just have a feeling that they're not going to have as good a season as they maybe think they are.
Phil still doesn't think so.
Yeah, what did he say?
He has them 10th in the league. Talks about their hype. He mentions the same thing about the losses on defense. He said the defensive line is extremely weak, at least on paper. SEC, you got to have a strong defensive front. So, he's not he thinks maybe 8 wins. He doesn't think they're going to replicate last year. So,
Sellers, back to the offensive side of the ball, Sellers is a great athlete, and, he's certainly got a good highlight reel. But we've learned some things about him this week. He had 11 fumbles last year, which I think is the most among quarterbacks in the NCAA. South Carolina finished 123rd in sacks allowed, which, sometimes that's a function of play calling. It's a function of the offensive line, but a lot of times it tells you that your quarterback is holding the ball too long. And I think that's something that he's guilty of. So we were watching highlights of him this week, and two of the first highlights on the reel, and we put this in our game preview, are of him. He should be sacked. He's held onto the ball too long. He's cornered, and he's really strong. So he spins away and he gets away like, oh, it's a highlight. But buried in the highlight is the fact that he shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place.
Right. Like the touchdown that beat Clemson last year was the same thing. Bill talked about it yesterday. That was like the third option he had because he'd done the same thing, and he ran and scored. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he's out there making great plays. And the other thing I think South Carolina fans need to be careful about, and, you see this play out with a lot of quarterbacks is, and it played out with Kyron Drones last year. Kyron had a really good year as a starter in 2023, had a lot of hype coming into 2024, and tried to be a different quarterback in the first month of the season, and it didn't go well. And then he got hurt, and, he himself admitted that maybe he was caught up in things a little bit too much. So Sellers is entering into his redshirt sophomore season, and he's got a lot of hype around him. He's got his own action figure. I don't know if you know this or not.
I did see that.
Yeah, because we're texting about it with Jen, and she bought one.
Yeah, she was holding it up. Look.
So he's got his own action figure, and you just and with NIL with these kids, and something that I've noticed so far is different at other schools is a lot of the kids the players at other schools have national deals going on and stuff like that, and that really hasn't bled down into Blacksburg yet because they're a 500 football team and they don't have any star power. But you go to a place like South Carolina where you got Will Stewart and you got Lenoris Sellers. These guys are also dealing with national companies and getting that kind of NIL.
That's right.
He's got a lot going on. And it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it and plays this year. And you might find some stuff out, Sunday. We'll see.
Will Stewart joining us. He's very close to Atlanta, down in Georgia, getting ready for Tech in South Carolina. A lot of things going on Saturday. Are you going to any of the stuff that's happening on Saturday? Bill said there's so many things surrounding the game that's going to happen the day before involving Virginia Tech with the band, with a lot of the boosters and all sorts of stuff.
I haven't done my research on any of that. I'm going to there's a concert Saturday night.
Yes. Yeah.
That's being put on by the Hokie Way at the Tabernacle in Atlanta. It's a band called OAR. And yes, this is a free plug. It's
all right.
It's a concert that's literally being marketed only to Hokie fans. So just Google it or go to the hokieway.org if you're looking for something to do Saturday night. So that's where I'll be. I haven't really given much thought to the day.
Yeah.
I can be like that. I get down there and I kind of wing it.
Yeah, that's the way you're supposed to. Just let it happen. Let it unfold as it happens. By the way, I didn't get Chris on this. We got to try to get Chris on. But what was Chris? Give us the predictions. I always like to ask you, the Tech Sideline folks, and your predictions, because it was a lot of fun last year going through game by game. And what did people think of this contest on Sunday?
All right, so give me a second to scroll through. I'm over on another tab, and I'm scrolling through stuff. First of all of us picked South Carolina to win. Not by large margins, though. So let's roll down it. Chris is South Carolina 27, Virginia Tech 23, so really close. I've got South Carolina 27, Virginia Tech 17, and I think it'll be close, and I think South Carolina will score late to make it, if it's a 10-point spread. I think that's what will happen. I'm not saying South Carolina is going to be up 27-10 and Tech scores late. It's the other way around for me. David's prediction is David Cunningham is South Carolina 31, Virginia Tech 16. Wow. Andy Bitter's got South Carolina 26, Virginia Tech 20. And Nick Brown has South Carolina 31, Virginia Tech 20. So we're all picking let me come back over to the tab you're on. We're all picking South Carolina to win, but my rationale there is what I mentioned at the very beginning, that push comes to shove, they're going to have the two best players on the field, Sellers and Dylan Stewart. I think, Dylan Stewart, their defensive end, he's a monster. And he was good last year as just a true freshman. So he's had the offseason to get bigger and stronger and probably learn more about the game. So I think Tech is really going to struggle with him. They're going to have to scheme around him, figure out some things to slow him down. I think, it's the preseason, Rick, and everybody's undefeated.
Right.
But
right.
I am optimistic that Kyron Drones is going to have a better year. And one of the things that might play out Sunday is Drones playing well and Sellers not playing so well. That's one of the things Virginia Tech needs to happen if they want to have a good shot at winning this game. So we're all picking South Carolina, but it's not like we're picking them in a romp or anything like that. And anything could happen.
Do you think the Caleb Woodson issue is going to be a problem in terms of the team at all, or are we just at an age where those kind of things, other than his absence, if it does happen on the field? I don't think we've still heard anything about his availability for Sunday. Maybe I missed something. I know he's had the captainship taken away, but do you think that'll play into it at all?
I don't think so. I don't think players think about that kind of stuff, particularly once the game starts. They're all just trying to execute their assignments. I do think one thing that's a little bit of concern here is, he was a team captain. And, I'm friends with a guy who is a DUI lawyer, and a lot of people who get DUIs, they just make a mistake. Everybody demonizes people who get DUIs, like they drive around and do that all the time.
Right.
And most people, it's just a mistake that they make in a certain moment. Now, I'm not speaking for Caleb. I'm not apologizing for him. I'm not saying what's going to happen.
No.
It is a little concerning that he had gotten the other ticket where he was going 96 and a 70 or whatever it was. That's pretty stout. So there seems to be a history there. But the whole point I'm making is that, he was a team captain, and that happens. So if you're Brent Pry, what are you going to do? Are you going to just let him play anyway, and you risk not being perceived as a strict coach? I don't know. I don't see it. I think the point I'm making is I don't really see it making a big difference Sunday, but how it is handled might make a difference the rest of the season. if that makes sense.
Questions for you, both on the it's interesting, two different people about the offensive line. And we've heard some great things that the new coach and those guys came in, they lost 5 and they found 5 pretty quickly, and they don't maybe have a lot of proven depth, but the starting 5 seems to be in a pretty good place, right? What all did you guys decide when you were going over talking about it this week on your podcast and several with the OL and how it's going to look?
Well, I think if they stay injury free, which of course never happens, but if they don't suffer any major injuries there, they could be a pretty good line a few games into the season, maybe about halfway through the season, because they just haven't played a lot together. And some of the guys are young, like I think it's Kyle Altuner that's starting for the first time. I think that's who they've got at center. And so there's going to be some issues there, not issues, but they just have to take time to gel. So I don't think you're going to see them at their best on Sunday. I don't think there are any superstars there. There's not a Xavier Chaplin, but I do think that they have a chance to be a good offensive line as the season goes along. And one of the things that's come out, and we knew this last season, we were getting emails from parents of offensive linemen and people who knew offensive linemen. The chemistry on the O-line last year was really bad, and that was a coaching issue. The players didn't like playing for, who was it, Ron Crook? Was that the OL coach?
Yeah, Ron Crook, yeah.
There were some chemistry issues there with the coach, and we're not hearing that with Matt Moore. So I think they have some good talent there. I think Moore's a good coach, and I think they'll get better as the season goes on. I'm just not sure what will happen on Sunday, how much you'll see of that.
First game mistakes. I was watching last night. It's amazing how many times the ball was just dropped. Sometimes it wasn't a turnover, but timing is going to be off a little bit. A lot of hype for a team like Boise State, right? They got absolutely destroyed. I mean, you're right. First games change everything, and we've seen Tech in the past under Brent Pry make a lot of mistakes early. Last year they got worn out. But as we heard this week, as a matter of fact, Andy Bitter, your colleague there, your lead writer, said, Tech should have still won that game against Vandy. As much as everything went wrong against them, they came back to take the lead, but they collapsed late and then in overtime. But even with all the mistakes they'd made, they had a shot. So if they can limit that and try to win that turnover battle, that is going to be enormous, I think, on Sunday.
It is, and the first games are crazy for that reason. The ball gets dropped a lot. Things happen on special teams, and those are the wild cards you can't predict. We sit here and we sit here and make these score predictions, and then maybe one team blocks 2 punts, and it just throws everything off. And that happened at Virginia Tech against Boise State back in 2010. Virginia Tech gave up a block punt for a touchdown really early in the game, and that really skews things. So the thing that happened, you talk about Jarrett Ferguson being director of strength and conditioning now. I think you and I spoke about this. That's a thing that builds over time. But the one thing that he is doing that could have a benefit this season is he's running the guys more. They're in better shape than they were last year. What happened against Vanderbilt last year was it was 130 degrees in that stadium. Tech was not a well-conditioned team, and they got down to the end of the game, and Kyron Drones literally had whole body cramps, and the team just ran out of gas, and you could see it. They had after a disastrous start, they had a really good second and third quarter, and good portion of the fourth quarter, and then they just ran out of gas. And you knew in overtime there was no way Tech was going to win just because of the way things looked. So that's kind of addressing what happened last year, and we'll see how well conditioned they are this year. But you're right, man. And the stuff that can go either way can happen to either team. And first games are just wacky.
It is. Some teams are more acclimated to it. It's tough. And I kept hearing last night the thing that we already know, Tech, 30 new players, a lot of new players down in South Carolina. I mean, all these rosters, we're talking about all the new players, and the task the coaches had was just getting them implemented into everything that, is about that program that year and how that mindset has to change in a heartbeat. And when you're Brent Pry and you're going into the prove it to me year, man, that's tough, isn't it? I mean, I know you had to make a lot of changes, but 30 new players, you have a lot of uncertainty, and you have to have those guys come together pretty quickly or you're not going to be here. Try to mold in the next 30 in year 5.
Yeah, if Justin Fuente was good at one thing, it was coaching in that first game. If you gave that guy months to prepare for somebody, he could bring it. So We haven't seen the same under Brent Pry. I think wasn't his first game that game at ODU back a few years back, where that was just a damn disaster. They had something like 13 penalties or something like that.
Yeah,
so,
it was terrible.
I think with a lot of the coaches have practiced with these guys now for a month. But those of us on the outside, we don't know what they got in a lot of these players. They got James Jonkum at one defensive end spot and Ben Bell at the other defensive end spot. I haven't seen either one of those guys play. They were pretty good at, quote unquote lower levels, but how good are they going to be on Sunday against a team like South Carolina? And how good are they going to be the rest of the year? These are things we don't know, and as aggravating as all the roster turnover is, it does make the season a mystery, and it's going to be interesting to see how that stuff unfolds.
Well, let's think positively, and let's just do a what-if scenario. What if Tech comes out of there with the win? Let's just talk about how that changes so much for this team going forward and what people are going to be talking about. The talking points are all going to be in a different direction of what it can mean. It's been such a long time since Tech's had that vibe. Can you imagine what it would be like if they were coming back home to take on their second SEC team, at home under the lights with a big win like that on Sunday in front of a national audience? I mean, why not, right?
I have so many thoughts about this topic. First of all, if they beat South Carolina, I'm sending out an email to all of our lapsed subscribers with a little code that'll get them 10 or 20 bucks off to get them to come back. So I think it'll be a good week for subscriptions.
Oh, yeah.
And, Virginia Tech hasn't sold out. To my knowledge, they haven't sold out any of the games yet this year. They sold them all out last year. And I don't think any of them are sold out. So
okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that.
Vanderbilt being a night game, I think that's one of the most interesting things to watch is if beat South Carolina, will that Vanderbilt game sell out? How much hype will be around that? I already know that editorially how we will respond to a victory over South Carolina is to tell people to chill out and pump the brakes and see what happens the rest of the season.
Right.
They rolled up there in 2014 and beat Ohio State in the shoe, the eventual national champions, and they came home and they were down 21-0 at the end of the first quarter against East Carolina.
Right.
And the story Chris Coleman always loves to tell, he's like, so you get a big win. What do you do next? You go back to that 2003 Miami game. Tech beat Miami and then tanked the rest of the season. So it's this thing where you gotta build on it. It's fun. It'll be really fun to win Sunday, but then what do you do? And I'm sorry, but we've been doing this a long time, and it's just how we respond to stuff like that.
Sure. No. History, fool me once. I get it, man. You have to. It would be a huge lift for everyone involved if it happened. I still subscribe to you can still kind of have a similar vibe, even if you come out of there short on the scoreboard, but things looked right. And right. I think I've gotten reaffirmed this week with our amazing pundits who've talked about it. If it looks right and it looks like everything is getting shored up, you could go away into week 2 thinking, all right, go 1-1 against the SEC. We still feel pretty good about the season.
Yeah, regarding Sunday, if you lose and it just looks like they had better players, that's one thing. If you're making stupid coaching mistakes and committing 13 penalties and turning the ball over 5 times, that's not good. That's not a good look. But if you play a good game and you lose anyway, just because Sellers does something like what he did against Clemson last year that you were describing, and a similar thing happened to Virginia Tech against Clemson last year. They had him. And then Klubnik made some crazy escape in the pocket and chucked a 50-yard touchdown pass. Sometimes the other team just makes plays, and that's how you can stomach a loss if you feel like they just had more talent.
Well, I guess, like you said, on paper, they're going to have more talent, more proven talent. But I'll tell you, the one area that really gives me some hope is what Tech has added with their coordinators. And I think without even knowing a whole lot about South Carolina's coordinators, I think Tech's got an edge there with the experience factor alone in Coach Montgomery and Sam Sief. Because those guys have seen it all. They've been very tight, close to the vest. There's nothing that they're watching South Carolina and going, oh, wow, look at that. Yeah. So I think that gives Tech an advantage that enough people we have, and you and your crew, but people outside aren't really focusing on that enough, I don't think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And what people on the outside don't understand is, this is harsh, but Chris Marv was a really terrible defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
In the moment, you're like, you think some of it's players, some of it's just running out of gas at the end. But then you go back and watch the games. That was a really poorly coordinated defense, particularly from the standpoint of not making adjustments at all during the game. So we've got a guy that posts on our message boards that used to do analysis for us for many years. And he's a very understated guy. He doesn't post very often, but he came on the board the other day and he said, the upgrade from Cephas to Chris Marv, that's a huge upgrade. You're going to see the defense actually adjusting during games to what they're seeing on the field.
Right.
And, Montgomery, it's funny. I think you and I have talked about this, Rick. I didn't really have a problem with Tyler Bowen. Tyler Bowen has had his good games and his bad games, but he wasn't a disaster as an offensive coordinator.
No.
Philip Montgomery's, been around the barn a few times. He knows what he's looking at. So it's going to be, I think they've upgraded there. I just hope it's not too little too late.
Well, the thing with Bowen, and you used to point this out, and I started paying attention to it when you'd come in studio on the radio show was, hey, some weeks the game plan, you would go, wow, geez Louise, what is this? And then the next, what? Right?
So the best example of that was the 2023 Pitt game, I think, where Tech was looking like a mad team, and then they roll into Lane Stadium and they just blow Pittsburgh out. The offense is just going up and down the field, and you're like, wow, where's that been? And that started a stretch of really good games for Tech at the end of that season. So, yeah, he had his moments where he had a great game plan. And then, like any offensive coordinator, he has his moments where he looked like he didn't know what to do.
All right. Well, it's going to be fun to watch regardless, and I know you're going to have a great time. I can't wait to hear about your weekend too, not just your game experience, but you're going to have a great time, man. That's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we shall see. So let me tell you what the fans are thinking. We put a poll in every.
Oh yeah, the fan poll.
So we give them 4 choices. 38% say the Gamecocks are going to win by 11 plus. So that's a little more than 1 out of every 3 fans think South Carolina is going to win pretty easily. Another 34% say the Gamecocks win by 1 to 10 points. 25% say the Hokies win by 1 to 10, win a close one, which is, that's a different topic in and of itself. Hokies win by 11 plus is 3%. so that is, if you had 38 and 30, 72% of people in our game prediction poll think South Carolina is going to win, and another 25% think Tech is going to win a close one, that would be a first for Brent Pry, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. It would.
All right.
Well, man, listen, thanks for taking time on your travels down there. You say in Buford? You're in Buford, Georgia?
Yep. I got up early for you, man.
You got a what?
I got up early.
I know you did. Thank you. It means a lot.
Showered and everything.
Wow. You got up early and showered? Jeez.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm impressed. All right, my friend. Have a great time and stay safe and enjoy Sunday.
All right. Thanks, Rick. Appreciate it.
All right. There you go. Will Stewart from Tech Sideline. Great stuff from him. Joining us from Buford, Georgia here on the program. To all that, we shall see. Yeah, I'm getting some questions. Yes, Wayne, I will be here on Monday doing the show on Labor Day. I mean, you have to be. It's the day after. Plus, I'll be off from Radford, so I'm just going to, I'll just walk downstairs and do the show. I mean, come on. Absolutely. I'll be here on Monday. I mean, it's immediate reaction from the weekend. You got to talk about how it all looked. An update on Jen. She's saying that she's not sure. It's looking less and less likely. She says she's going to be able to join us. Saying she's not feeling good this morning. Coughing and feeling awful in bed. But I guarantee you she's going to be there on Sunday. And I think what this comes down to is a matter of what's important to her, showing up, doing the show for you, for me, or just, going and doing what you want to do this weekend. So if she's not here, I don't have her picks either. So what I'll do is go through the picks that I made for the week if we get to that point. But, yeah, I don't know if Jen's going to be here or not, which is disappointing. But, it is what it is. Someone who is here and joining us right now is that guy. Look at him in his Bucky shirt. What's up, Michael Ashley?
I need an endorsement from Buc-ee's.
You do need an endorsement from Buc-ee's. How are you?
They had me at Dr. Pepper Slurpees.
Oh, all right. Tell me about the Dr. Pepper Slurpee. I'm already intrigued.
Well, I'm a Southern guy. Of course I like Dr. Pepper. And, I walked in, and not that they didn't have just a Slurpee machine, but it was like machines of all different flavors of stuff. And colas, not the silly red and green and stuff like that. It was actual colas. So, I mean, there wasn't double cola or Royal Crown Cola like they should probably have in the South as callbacks, but it was still really good. And it's just the celebration of American excess, and I'm okay with that when I stop on the interstate.
Love double cola. I want one of those. I want one of those old signs. I want one of the vintage double cola signs. The red was red and white.
Right.
I want one of those to put up down here in the new space. That's what I want.
Anyway. Remember, it came in the 8-pack. It wasn't 6. It was 8.
Yes.
And the bottles were extra tall. And I've got a couple of double cola stories for you. And first is
of course you do.
The first day of school, first grade. It's amazing thing I stuck with education because my first day was horrifying. When I opened my Batman lunchbox, that first day of school, my tuna sandwich was floating in a sea of double cola that I had in my mom had put in my thermos. And, I don't know, for some reason those thermoses just didn't hold cola. I think it ate through the lining or something. And so what a terrible start to my educational experience, which actually ended up being great. But, and then the other one was, remember sleepovers with your buddies when you were a kid? You go to their house and you purportedly sleep over when you'd really just stay up all night. And in Roanoke back in the day, that meant listening to WROV all night like the cool kids did. And so at like 2 a.m, they actually had a trivia contest that I could get through and win. And I called in, and the question was, name the high school the Archie gang went to, which is, I can hit that one. It was Riverdale High School,
right?
Which now people know because it was some CW series with a bunch of angst-ridden teenagers. Which really, I don't remember the Archie gang being that angst-ridden.
No, Except, exactly.
The whole Betty Veronica thing. But we're not going to go there. We've talked too much about Ginger and Mary Ann and those things, and, Bailey Quarters and Lonnie Anderson, and anyway. So I win my double cola thing from my friend Sam Weichel's house, and we drive down. His dad drives us down there the next day to Cleveland Avenue, and I was maybe 11 or 12, and this is my first experience in showbiz, going to WROV, and at that time you got to remember what a powerhouse ROV AM was. It was producing great mega stars of our market, Rob O'Brady and Bart Prater and guys like that.
Prater,
yeah. You just heard these guys all the time, and man, they were your heroes. And I just knew I was going to see this palace. It was such a dump on the other side of Roanoke, Cleveland Avenue. When we pulled up, it was just like, no, this isn't the place. It was terrible. So right away, I felt bad for you radio guys, but there it goes. Yeah.
But didn't your sandwich that was swimming in the double cola, didn't the bread just taste so good though? I mean, come on.
I don't remember getting to eat, which was the most traumatic part of that for the little fat kid from across the street. Oh, there is more. I was going to leave this out. The first hint that something was amiss was there was some liquid in the floor, and it seemed to be adjacent to my desk, not actually under. And,
right.
And the big kid next to me, who had flunked first grade the year before, got blamed for something that he didn't do. And I didn't know till lunchtime that I was the culprit. But he was a hulking kid, as I remember. I'm not going to give out names here. He's since deceased, but I always felt bad about that. But he got me back. Later in the year, he stole my favorite Batman card.
Hey, Three Rings Football says Bailey, Marianne, and Betty. Enough said. That's his group. What do you think?
I'm sorry. Give me those three again.
Of those three you mentioned, he's going with Bailey Quarters.
Okay.
Over Jennifer Marlowe.
Well,
he's going.
Yeah, that's a push.
Yeah, he's going. He's going Marianne over Ginger.
Well, you know how I am. She was a movie star, for Pete's sake, and she brought her
whole
wardrobe. So come on, she was ready. you know me. I give me Samantha from Bewitched.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. So there you go.
100%. I feel like I'm hearing the clicking sounds of. I don't know what I'm picking up there. You remember the movie Signs?
I don't think that's me.
No, that's maybe me.
Unless I'm radioactive and didn't know it.
I don't know what that is. But any event, there's something going on there. Something has seeped into our system here. Sounds like the aliens that got on the roof in the movie Signs is what it sounds like.
It sounds like the sound my brand new grill made yesterday when I started it for the first time. I was so and again. Doesn't that sound like just before the movies, before the rocket ship blows up? System like that. Not to say step away from your devices at home because this might blow up. But anyway, yes, I didn't have to do much assembly on the grill, but I did have to do some. And there's just a basic problem when somebody like me is putting together something that could blow up. I'm really always frightened by the situation. But hey, the grilled chicken was great on the salad last night. So
absolutely.
Well. Hey, speaking of all's good that ends well, I would like to tell another story about a local down there. I saw a great thing on Facebook last week that my old high school buddy, Bill Wells, the coach at Eastern Montgomery, the baseball coach at Eastern Montgomery, and before that at Shawsville, who's got a couple of, I think maybe 3 state championships under his belt as a baseball coach. He score kept his 1,000th game for the Salem baseball franchise.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah, those of you who know this kind of stuff, that's quite a landmark. I didn't even want to do the math on how many games that was. I'm guessing the Salem would have at least 60, 70 home games a year. And so to think, and I know Bill didn't do them all because Brian Hoffman and some other people were probably involved in that streak. Bob Teitelbaum used to be a scorer there.
Bob Teitelbaum, yeah.
Yes, I never was, but I went up and heckled those people all the time. Bill Wells has a great place in the Mike Ashley history too, and he knows this. But I was there at the first year of Salem High School. Andrew Lewis and Glenver, arch rivals, merged, and my senior year. Over there at the brand new building, we all got to trip on the carpet all year because we never walked on carpet in high school, and we were all guys just shuffling our feet, so we were tripping on the carpet all the time. But Bill was a really good sports writer over there for the Thistle at Glenver, and here I was coming from Lewis, and our guy was the my Carl Colley, a great mentor for me and my favorite high school teacher, an English teacher. Was the advisor for the newspaper. So guess what? The Lewis guy got to be editor of the paper. So I was editor of the paper, which I hated because it meant that I wasn't the sports editor.
Right.
So Bill was the sports editor. And the famous thing is that I fired him so I could be sports editor too.
Yeah.
So I could cover football and basketball. And the basketball thing is key because that's how I met Joe Davis. And Joe Davis ultimately recruited me to Radford. And here you and I are based on that connection. But anyway, I didn't really fire Bill just because I wanted to be sports editor. Although I was, and Bill will admit this, a better sports writer than he. I did it because he was late with the copy, and it made it tough on us hardworking editors. So I just took over, but I felt bad, but Bill went on to he was an all-district pitcher at that time, at one of Salem High's first time we had all-district guy, but he was a great high school baseball pitcher. And so I always like to tell Bill, well, I was so smart, this all worked out for both of us.
Right, of course.
Congratulations to Bill Wells on scoring all those baseball games. And he's a guy that goes out to the College World Series every year. And I made the mistake of telling him I think he should write a book. And so now he's trying to drag me in to help him write a book. So we'll see how that goes. You write it, Bill, and I'll come in for the save.
Yeah. You get it all done, and then I'll add my little bit at the end. Yeah. I see, your new header. I haven't talked about it yet. I wanted to get you on. Jerry Jones will be Jerry Jones. Micah Parsons now a Green Bay Packer for Kenny Clark and 2 number 1s. Your thoughts? Or is Mike frozen here? Mike is frozen and he's gone. Oh, my goodness gracious. Mike is gone. Let me see if I can re-add him here. Mike, I'm going to need you to reconnect. That's what I need you to do. I think there was something happening there. So Mike just got kicked. So get back on, Mike. Just try again with the link. Let's see if he can reconnect. Let me send a new link to Mike. It's that easy. But yeah, something started happening there, and then finally he fizzled out. Sounded like his audio was about gone. But hey, that's we don't panic. We just have a little way of doing this. I'm going to send you a new link, Mike, if you're still watching, and try to reconnect that way. Let's just send a whole new link. See if that works. If you're still there. Sent new link. There. But if we're fortunate enough to get him back on, because the noise is now gone. I think it was something that was starting to deteriorate on his end a minute ago. But, yeah, I mean, Micah Parsons. Oof. Now, they gave up Kenny Clark, did the Packers, and 2 number 1s. But, boy, Dallas, Green Bay, I guess, is all in. I mean, he's a megastar. Gave up a lot, but they must feel like their window is right now in the annals of it here. Let's see here. Let's try one more time. There he is. We got you back.
What did I do?
I don't know. You not only did it stop, but it started to pixelate, it was like you were vanishing, like in Avengers Infinity War, when everybody started turning to dust. You kind of started looking like
the blip, I think they call, or something like that. I can't remember. I can't watch those last 2 Avengers movies. They make me too sad because so many people die. Anyway, that's just
Micah Parsons.
No. First, let me say something about Rick Snyder, who we said we were.
Oh yeah, I mentioned this. Yeah, please do.
Yeah.
Just terrible. You said it. 3 weeks we've had the program. 3 weeks you've been on, and we've had to talk about Coach Lindenberg no longer being with us, Randy King passing away, and now Rick Snyder, which is just devastating news you let me know about earlier this week.
Yeah, I'm the eulogy guy now. All of a sudden, I don't really like that. But yeah, Rick Snyder was worked for the Washington Times, had a 40-year career in journalism up here for several papers, but mostly the Washington Times. And I met him when I got up here and got on the Maryland beat. And he was just one of those guys, such a well-rounded guy. And I say that in all phases, physically and overall, because he was a guy that later in a career, when it became tougher to work in a newspaper industry with cutbacks and things like that. And the Washington Times was always on the cusp with those sort of things. And he used to kick the Washington Post's butt up here on his beats. It was really incredible. But Rick actually did historic tours of D.C. There was one I really wanted to take. I really wanted to take the Abraham Lincoln assassination tour, go downtown and have Rick explain all this. Yes. Isn't that cool? I think people that are wired for sports would think that's the same. But Rick had a couple of tours like that he offered, but they were always on Saturdays, which just made it tough for me because, as you can see, here I am at the beach again. So yeah, I never got to do that. And apparently Rick had a stroke a couple of weeks ago and never recovered. And the outpouring up here has been really amazing from radio shows like you used. Well, you had him on radio.
Yeah, several times.
Stuff here all the time, talking about horse racing, one of his passions, being a Maryland guy himself, and then talking about, of course, he covered Washington football for so long and was not beloved by his namesake, Danny Snyder, who is spelled differently. So, and they were not related. And you would know it if you ever talked to Rick about his days doing that. And that's, I know Rick wouldn't want me to get too maudlin about this. He was so nice to me as a new guy on the Maryland beat and really, really kind of helped me meet the right people. And ultimately, I got more solid on the beat and was there longer than Rick was at Maryland. But he was just a hard-boiled classic central casting newspaper guy, and we all loved him because he was a crusty curmudgeon some of the times. But when he started doing podcasts here later in his career too, he said his most viewed podcasts were the ones where we went out and ate pizza and reviewed pizza places. So I got to go on a couple of those with him, and that was a lot of fun. But hey, there's some. First of all, we always heard those stories about Dan Snyder, the Washington football owner, how he grew up being a Washington fan, and he talked about wearing that belt buckle he had. In fact, one of the radio stations up here used to call Dan Snyder Little Chief Belt Buckle.
Yeah.
But anyway, Rick was there in the press box, so he observed some things that kind of blew holes in that theory. Like one, if you're my age, you remember when George Allen was in D.C. and they would go out and get free agent players. Most notably, in this case, Dave Butts, a lineman from the Cardinals. They went out and signed, and Dave Butts was very distinctive. He was 6'5", well over 3 bills, and he just had. I remember he had this huge face with this huge nose, and you could not mistake Dave Butts for anybody else. And if you were a Redskin fan, you would have known exactly who he was. Well, he came through the press box, and Dan Snyder had no idea who he was. So that kind of blew a hole in that theory there. And then my favorite story about Dan Snyder being the egocentric guy he was when Detroit Lions were in town, and he met some members of the Ford family as they came through the press box. And Dan Snyder asked them, as I guess billionaires do, he said, well, what line of work are you people in?
Yeah.
The Ford family from Detroit. Okay.
What do you guys do there?
And when they told him, he said, oh, you have a big dealership? Oh, Rick Snyder loved telling those stories because the Redskins made his life a living hell on the beat sometimes, because he was always breaking stories and asking tough questions. And hey, that's what reporters are supposed to do. And I got to tell you, I'm so gratified by the response there has been for Rick from people that knew him much longer than I did and who saw much more of his work. And it's funny because this time of year, Rick, you can probably appreciate it. I think everybody can. I always felt like when the Maryland football season cranked up every year, and I covered there for 20 years, when Maryland football cranked back up in the fall, for me, it's the first time you came back and saw all the other beat writers again, met some new beat writers, lamented some that weren't there anymore. But it was always like the first day of school back when we were kids without your tuna sandwich floating in double cola. But it was a lot of fun, and this time of year always makes me very nostalgic for that.
Dave Butts, 65, right? Number 65, right? Is that right?
Yeah, he was, and just absolutely a huge human being. But now they're all like that, which is, why we have the injury problems we have, I think. Now you want to talk Micah Parsons? I now.
I know. Well, you got Kenny Clark. You got 2 first rounders. I don't know how the relationship dissipated to that point. Is he the final piece in Green Bay? We'll see. I don't know. But your thoughts on everything? Is this par for the course as a Cowboy fan recently? I mean, what do you think?
There's got to be more. There's got to be more to this story. You don't let a generational talent like Micah Parsons. Oh, we got 2 first-round draft picks. That's great. Maybe we could draft another player as good as Micah Parsons if there's a chance, less than 50%, that we'll get one like that because you had one. So what do you do when you get a good player? You let him play a couple years and you let him slip away. That's ridiculous. And that's not how the Cowboys historically have operated. I'm having trouble getting used to the Cowboys thinking small market now, but I guess they're making so much money it doesn't matter because they are they're $2 billion ahead of the Rams as the top franchise in sports, I think. Anyway, yeah, Micah Parsons leaving. Actually, I made the mistake of watching the Jerry Jones press conference last night, which was going on and on and on. But he actually said things that made some sense. Anybody that's watched the Cowboys, and we're going to get into football minutia here, kids, so I'm sorry about that. But they have not stopped the run in the last 5-6 years. And I'm sorry, that reflects poorly on Dan Quinn's permanent record because that was a problem he couldn't fix there either. And if you look at those playoff losses, the few they've had the last few years, they've always been because the ball was getting run down their throats. And, of course, that's the Eagles' raison d'etre. And he's right. Micah Parsons isn't as valuable if you if it's always 2nd and 5 or less, which it always was with the Cowboys, is always 2nd and short. The Cowboys were one of the worst teams on 1st down there was. They couldn't stop the run in the pinch, and there's the hope Kenny Clark will help that. But the thing about Micah Parsons was, if you don't understand football, you just watch the ball. You watch the ball get snapped to the quarterback. You watch the quarterback, and then you over time you learn nuance where you can figure out what's going on, what the quarterback's looking at, and you can kind of follow things. But Micah Parsons was one of those guys, you would watch him, where he lined up and what he did against the people trying to block him. It was fun to watch. It was such great athleticism usually against bigger players, and he was a guy that you could just watch him the whole game. Now, I never got to do that in person, but I'll tell you, the guy that started that for me was a guy named Bruce Smith at Virginia Tech when I was in high school. I could go to a Virginia Tech game, and I knew how good Bruce Smith was, and I would just watch him to see how he did what he did, and that was the game within the game that your listeners love, and that's why I make that comparison. So yeah, I'm going to miss watching Micah Parsons, particularly for the Packers, who no other team in my lifetime I think has caused me as much personal pain as the Green Bay Packers. And with that said, kisses to Aaron Rodgers there as he blows up the Pittsburgh franchise.
Very, very true. Very, very true. Big Ten got off to a good start last night. They went 4-0 in their games. I guess they were all favored, but I get it. But let's talk about Maryland football real quick here. What's their prognosis? I mean, are they going to have to be, part of the league again? We're just happy to be here. Or are they going to actually make some noise?
I can't imagine they're going to be very good. They won 4 games last year. They won 1 in the Big Ten, and I actually think they had a better squad. But we'll see. I don't know. With the transfer portal, this is why I don't like doing previews so much anymore. They do have a freshman quarterback, Malik Washington, that I think sooner or later will land in the starting lineup or will play because he's such a talent. He was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the country coming out from local high school up here, and he's got all the tools to be a really good player. And Maryland again is loaded at wide receiver. Octavian Smith, I know, is back. He's legit. He's one of those guys that just has got better every year he's been in school. They had a couple transfers. I wrote down the names because I'm not as familiar. Although I did preview them in Athlon, but hey, I wrote that last April during spring practice. They let me see, I'm losing my names here on the they had I thought I wrote them down. Anyway, they got a couple transfers. They got Caleb Webb from Tennessee as a wide receiver of some repute, and then a kid named Farouk from Oklahoma. So just going on the pedigree of those programs, I think those two will be good. Nolan Ray's a top running back. On defense, you got new coordinators on both sides of the ball. Pep Hamilton on offense, and was it Ted Manicino on defense, and both of those guys have NFL experience, so that's legit. But this is a big year for Mike Locksley. He got another great recruiting class, but man, this has got to show up on the field soon. They really haven't. I'm trying to not look like a Batman villain with the lighting here. There we go.
You look fine. You look fine.
This is just a big year. Locksley's been there a long time. You got the 22nd rated freshman recruiting class. I don't know what that means anymore. But they do have some talent in the program. He's done a great job of keeping a lot of local kids home, including Malik Washington. So this is a big year. They open up against Florida Atlantic, and they've won 13 straight home openers, and in fact have one of the longest non-conference winning streaks in the country at 15. And that includes in that 15 consecutive non-conference wins. I know they beat NC State, and they beat Virginia Tech, they beat UVA twice. I think Syracuse is in there. So it's not just against Towson every year or Maryland Eastern Shore or, those people. But again, you won't know anything about them for real, I think, till the 3rd week. Nope, I take that back. The 4th week of their season. It's because it's, Northern Illinois could be tough. Towson the 3rd week, and then it's at Wisconsin. So that's when we'll know if the Terps have got a chance. But, historically they just can't match up on the fronts. Their offensive line, their defensive line can't run the ball, can't stop the run. Formulas for disaster.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch. We'll see how things happen and unfold here for the season. Week 1, you go back, I think about you because, I know how much fun you had covering high school football when you were here, and it's here tonight, everybody's so excited. That little nips back in the air. And I know you covered it week to week, but boy, opening night, right? High school football just does something.
Yeah. Opening night. Yeah, it's just, we talk about, Marty Smith said this about, and they've talked college football. So I went with the pro football. Just, you can feel it in the air. I had another friend that always called this hitting weather. So
yeah, that's right.
And this is another sad thing to talk about, because covering football for the Roanoke Times was, man, if you'd have told me when I was in high school that I'd be doing that, I'd say, pinch me, wow, me, I get to go out there and stand on the sidelines and be a part of this. And, we every week we seem to be talking about the great coaches. You had Coach Ragsdale on there, and I saw his program play, but, just the great coaches. And you were out, Coach Lindeberg, Coach Christ, come to mind immediately for me. It was Willis White down there in Salem, and Eddie Joyce before that, and Jim Hickam at Northside. Just great coaches that were there that established programs that you could just recognize. You didn't need to see the uniforms sometimes. You could tell by the way they played who was coaching them, and the drive, the determination they had. And I tell you, the thing was, people always said, well, you're out covering Shawsville this week. What's that like? Well, there's going to be several thousand people there that this is the most important game to them. So it's the most important game to me. And you could feel that with each stadium I walked into. It's funny because you're talking about living out there close to the football stadium at Auburn. And I remember going out there to cover games, and they weren't playing when I started this. I remember one of the first stories I did was a basketball preview out there, and they didn't have football. And so it seemed like a weird situation, but they added it. And I remember driving out there the first time for a football game. And that was one of those places where, back then you didn't have Siri telling you every move you had to make. You had to find these places kind of on your own. And, I'm driving out there, and I remember coming around the bend, and suddenly, boom, you see those stadium lights. That's the thing I remember, pulling up at these places, and suddenly out of nowhere, you got all these lights, and the traffic picks up, and there's a lot of people walking and around, and it just you feel it right away. And again, one of my favorite places to feel that was in Pulaski, which started with getting there early just so I could go eat the booster food. Man, the boosters there, they were all Group 3A.
They did it right. You're right. Dan Callahan used to organize all that with the boosters and the food that was available. And we had somebody ask that earlier, the best high school football concession food. Do you remember any others off the top of your head, all your travels all those years?
I tell you, the hot dogs at Salem were pretty good too, as I remember. It doesn't stick out to me. It depends on how nervous I was about the deadline.
I got you. Yeah, you could.
The thing I remember, Coach Hicks at Pulaski used to set me up in his office, up there on top of the hill, the weight room, and then the back office. He would take me back there where there was a phone and let me sit there. And they would be going on and on. I remember sometimes when things were going good, they brought me a plate of the food from up there. So that was kind of nice. I tried not to make too much of a mess on his desk, but it was deadline, and I was in a hurry.
You're in a hurry.
And I think I've told this story a long time ago before. One night I was up there, I would still be working sometimes when they'd be done. They'd be leaving, and and Coach Hicks would just say, "Shut the lights out when you leave." And I said,
"No, see, that's
isn't that cool?"
That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about, right there.
It was until that first night it happened. I had packed up my stuff, and I'm at the door, and there's a light that stays on there. One of those secondary lights that just stays on the whole time you're in the weight room. And I remember when I opened the door and I let it slam shut behind me, It was so dark up there in the Pulaski County parking lot, not a light to be seen. That door shut behind me, and I turned around and tried to grab it because I needed that little bit of light. There was nothing. And so now I'm trying to go down the steps, and finally a car came up over the horizon there with the lights on, and I saw something flash in the parking lot, and it was the bumper of my car. And so that at least gave me a direction to go into, and I got to my car, was able to get the lights on and get home. But that was one of the more scary experiences I've ever had. That and being me locked inside Veterans Stadium in Philadelphia after a
really that happened.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They had me and a couple other guys, but we were in separate parking lots. So when I went to get out, I couldn't find a way out. I had to climb over a fence to get out and to get home from downtown Philly, where I was a little. That wasn't a great part of town, but anyway, great stories. I've heard some other good ones recently from other writers about Ralph Barrier telling me getting locked in. I can't remember. It was a regional playoff, and he was in the office, and oh my gosh, what happened? Something happened. The power went out or something, and he had to try and get help. And when he went out of the office, they had set him up in the door locked behind him, so he couldn't even get back to his computer and his story. So he had to go call a friend of his who was on the staff there to come drive from home and come and let him back into the office and finish so he could go home. Yeah, we've all got those stories, but that made it fun.
It does make it fun. And you always make Fridays fun. We appreciate your time, and I hope you enjoy college football, toes in the sand, whatever you're going to do to celebrate. I hope it goes well.
My daughter and son-in-law rolled in late last night. So, yeah, that's why we're in the Buc-ee's regalia and ready to hit the beach here this morning. So, yeah, but always good to say hey to folks back home, and hopefully next week no eulogies, and Goober says hey.
All right, hey to Goober. Have fun this weekend, brother.
Thanks, you too.
Good to see you. Mike Ashley joining us on the program. Great stories. I didn't realize he got lost in Veterans Stadium. I didn't realize that was a thing. I kind of remember the Coach Hicks story. But you know what would have been worse than getting caught in the dark was if he would have let the door shut before he turned the lights out, and Coach Hicks would have come back the next morning and said, hey, Mike didn't turn the lights on. Then Mike would have been running fifths the next week, or the next time he covered a game. He'd be running fifths all around the practice field. That's what he'd be doing. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff there from Mike Ashley. We're headed into our last half hour of the week, and I want to take the time to thank Family Fencing and for sponsoring our studio here in Reiner, 540-200-8294, familyfencingnrv.com. Give Jason and the crew a call. They are terrific. They are locally owned fence experts. If you want privacy, if you want your property marked the right way, get a hold of them. Finance options, they give you free quotes. They don't tear up your yard. They build better fences. It's awesome. So give them a shout out and tell them you heard us talking about them. Thanks to Mark Hunley and his crew, McClellan Chiropractic, for sponsoring our chat room. They are terrific. Awesome, as always. So it's really cool. I went in there. He took me on a tour earlier this week. It's huge. It's right off of Pepper's Ferry. And he was showing me the latest technology. And, you know, you go to the chiropractor, you get all twisted and you get popped and you do all these things. Now they just have machines that kind of do it for you. It's cool. I should have said, hey, let me see that, and just taking advantage of it. He probably would have done it. But I didn't do that. Hit us up on the text line, 540-391-0788. Could use a sponsor for that too, by the way, if you're looking to help out the startup program here. Want to really thank all the folks, Jonathan Sweet and everybody at Pulaski County Sports Entertainment. I know what a big night it is. Even though they're on the road, Pulaski County football has started. Excitement around that community with everything that Jonathan and Tim and that crew are doing, rebuilding the economy brick by brick and using sports and recreation as a major part of that. It's just so exciting, and I'm so honored to be a part of it to have these kind of partnerships that we do here on the program. That's one that I think a lot of vested interest in, being a Pulaski County native. So thank you so much for presenting this program. Little River Heating and Air, terrific people that do such a good job at what they do. And go see Charles, give them a call, get your units checked out. They won't gouge you. They're honest with their pricing. You don't get a bunch of, here's your quote, and then when you go, oh, by the way, we can't really afford that because look at what you gave me. No, they don't do that. They don't do that. Thanks to everybody. The last 2 weeks, they got off to a great start. Ryan Pry, attorney, 701 West Main Street. The fan question of the week's been great. Thank you for all of your. I read over. I kind of grouped them together, but we're getting 2 to 3 dozen responses the last 2 weeks from the question of the week. We'll have another one coming on Monday. I will be doing a show on Monday, Labor Day. I mean, what the heck? You might be off from work, but all I have to do is walk downstairs. So I'll be here. And we announced on Monday a news partnership, National Bank member FDIC, the exclusive banking partner of BDST. Our high school football show week 1 with Jermaine is up on the channel right now. You can go back and watch it. And watch WFXR tonight, Friday Night Blitz. Okay? Watch it, enjoy it, and have a great time. Well, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, I have to make this announcement as we segue into our coverage. That young lady will not be joining us today because she is ill. I've been giving her a hard time, but Jen, we love you, and I hope you start feeling better. Trust me, this is, I think, still one of her favorite things in the world, hanging out with us. It's week 1. It's South Carolina, Virginia Tech week. Trust me, she wants to be here. But if she's not feeling well enough to go on, then she's not feeling well enough to go on because she has fought through not feeling well before. A lot of times it's self-induced when she's been out in Vegas and so forth. There have been other times when she's been sick and she hasn't felt good. But Jen is sick. She has some kind of flu, temperature 102 and so forth. So she will not be with us today, and we're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. So now I have to pick the games all by myself. But no Jen here today, and she sends her apologies to everybody. So keep her in your thoughts as she recovers, and I hope she can still make the trip to Hotlanta this weekend. But we'll miss you, Jennifer. We will. We will. So I do have the games that we selected. Jen says she won the last year, by the way. She said she won the picks. I don't remember that. And since she's not here to defend it, I'm going to say that didn't happen. Her winning the picks from last year. But in any event, we'll miss you. All right. So I do have the game picks right here. So we're going to go through it. So I'm sorry, Jen. I hope you feel better. Friday game. I'm going to try to. I screwed these up. Let me get a pen here. I screwed up my order when I sent these to her, so I'm going to do that now. You ready? We're going to get into week 1 picks here. So we have the 2 Friday games that are on this list here. I got Georgia Tech at Colorado, and I've got Auburn at Baylor tonight. That's another terrific game, by the way. SEC going into Big 10 country or Big 12 country, and App State. That's the other one. App State at Charlotte. All right, so that's the 3 Friday games here. So let's look at the first one. Georgia Tech at Colorado. And I mentioned, Haynes King and everything that program has gotten turned around with, right? They made a coaching change, and it has been absolutely amazing. I did pick USF in Nebraska, by the way. I did pick South Florida. Anyway, Georgia Tech going to take on Deion. No Travis Hunter, no Shedeur Sanders. The sideshow seems to have subsided. But I'm going to go with Georgia Tech. I think the ACC needs them to play well. I think Brent Key is going to pack up that program. I think Haynes King will be the best football player on the field, at least offensive football player. Pull for the Ramblin' Wreck tonight. I'm going to go Georgia Tech to win. Auburn at Baylor. War Eagle. SEC going on the road. going into Waco. But for me, I look at this game, and it's first games all the way around. I usually give the SEC the benefit of the doubt most times when they're playing in a game like this. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that Auburn's going to be able to hit the road and come away with a big dub. I mean, it could happen, but I'm just not 100% sure where we're going to be on that game here tonight. I think I'm going to go with the Bears. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Baylor Bears to get it done. Neither team is ranked. Auburn's 2.5-point favorites on the road. But let's go with the Bears and wake up. What do you say? I want to keep up with my picks since Jen is not here to do it. App State and Charlotte. Now, this is a pretty good game. It's on here because it's only a 4-point spread. App State is favored as they go into Charlotte, Bank of America Stadium. This is a big game. This is the Dukes Mayo Classic. No longer with the bigger teams, but still a good game. Makes sense. Dukes Mayo is always in Charlotte. App State at Charlotte. And I'm going to go with the Mountaineers. I'm going to go with App State knocking off Charlotte tonight. App State's one of those teams that circles the wagons pretty well when they go on the road. So I'm going to go with them to get the dub. So I believe that's all the Friday games that were on here. All right, so let's get right into the crux of Saturday. Saturday, as we roll through the picks. Texas and Ohio State. It's a big one, to say the least. Preseason number 1, preseason number 3. Ohio State, 1.5-point home favorites against Texas. And for me, that's not really what I'm basing it on. Texas, Arch Manning and all that, show me you can do it. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to go with the Buckeyes at home. I'm going with the Buckeyes to beat Texas in a very what should be a close game. Battle of the Orange that happens on Friday down in Hotlanta is Syracuse and Tennessee. Tennessee's number 24. They're 2 touchdown favorites in this game. And this is the first of the 2 weekend games involving the SEC and the ACC. And, Syracuse, this is a statement game for them. This is the kind of game that they can go down and immediately make an impact. And, Tennessee's going to out-athlete them, going to outspin them. But I'm not going to take Syracuse, but I'm going to say Tennessee wins, but Syracuse covers the 14 points. What do you think? Is that realistic? And maybe it won't happen. Maybe Tennessee gets up on them, and then maybe they completely, go the other way. I don't know. Bama at FSU. It's hard to jump back on the support wagon for Florida State. I don't like the quarterback situation there. I wasn't real fond of him when he went to when he was at Boston College. But I'm going to go Alabama in the game. Florida State has to have a breakthrough season, or Mike Norvell won't have a job. He won't have a job. So I'm going to go with the Alabama to win that game. Battle of Death Valley. And this one is already been very interesting, played out in the media, as Brian Kelly and his fake accent have done, calling what Clemson, I don't know how he worded it, Death Valley Light. I think that's what he said, Death Valley Light. Oof. LSU number 9, Clemson number 4. And I'm going to go with the Clemson Tigers and Cade Klubnik at home. Phil still has them playing in the national title game, Clemson. And I asked him about that, and he talked about why he believes that. And that's kind of what I'm basing the whole thing on, to be honest with you. I think it should be close. I think it's very difficult to pack them up. Clemson fans are going to take that to heart. I'm sure they already are. I just think that's silly to say in the public. I know a lot of people think all that stuff is overblown, but it's not. I believe that it's very important to have the right kind of respect going into a game like that. It seems like all Brian Kelly does is run his mouth and say things that, things like this that are just stupid. I just don't think you need to give a home team, that kind of momentum. And I think that's what it does. I think it creates momentum. So for me, that's going to play, I think, pretty well with Clemson fans and with the whole mindset going into that game. It sounds silly, I know, but boy, they take a lot of pride in the whole Death Valley moniker, coming down the hill, rubbing the rock. So I'm going to go with Clemson. Coastal Carolina and Virginia. We've mentioned this throughout the week, but for Tony Elliott, it's a massive, massive, massive season, much like Brent Pry. I'll go with UVA to win. I think this game's going to be closer. Last time I checked, they're double-digit favorites, right? Is that still right? That doesn't sound like that should be the case. They're 11.5-point favorites right now. Virginia. That's 6 o'clock on the ACC network tomorrow. I'll go with the Cavs to win, but I don't know if it'll be an 11-point game. We'll see. Utah, UCLA used to be conference rivals. Now they're Big 12 to Big 12 to Big 10. I'm going to go Utah on the road. Big debut there for the new UCLA quarterback they spent $2.5 million from. They got from Tennessee. So we'll see. UCLA, to me, even though that's, my gang, got to prove it. Sean Foster, 5 wins last year. Show me you take it seriously. I don't know how seriously football's taken out there. It bugs me. More seriously than at places like Cal and Stanford, but it seems like UCLA has kind of moved toward that as opposed to USC that stayed separate from it to a certain degree. So it bugs me. Utah takes football very seriously. They've lost a lot going into this season, but, show me UCLA. Show me. That's all. I want to see what you got because I don't know what you got. I know what you've had, and what you've had has not been very good. They recruited well, but that doesn't mean for anything. Yeah, I think they're going to win the game. We'll see. Toledo and Kentucky. And I know you're saying, why is Toledo and Kentucky on here? Well, there weren't a whole lot of games to be selected that were close, even though you have a few really big games. The Rockets, the Wildcats, Kroger Field. I'm going to go with Kentucky at home. We've already seen how MAC teams are really lighting up the scoreboard. Like Miami and Akron. 0 points. Another game that is on here just because it's close. I know it's one that you're probably not going to go, ooh, I can't wait to, go back. I want to watch Northwestern and Tulane. Flip it back. But it's a 4-point spread. Tulane at home. The Green Wave. Love the powder blue and green color combo. I'm going to go Tulane at home. New Orleans. Northwestern, not usually a team that opens up the season on the road very strongly in recent history. So I'm going to go with them. Hey, it's a late night ACC team. Cal in Oregon State. Call the neighbors, wake the kids. You can't wait to finish up your Saturday at 10:30 on ESPN and watch Cal and Oregon State. I'm going to go with the Beavers at home. because the beaver looks a lot like the Bucky mascot that Mike Ashley just had on his shirt. So I'm going to go with Oregon State. I'm going Oregon State just because it's Bucky's and just because it's Northern California football. Don't like it. All right, so that gets us into the final three, all involving ACC teams. And I'm not going to do this necessarily in order of when the games are played, but I'm going to get into the games themselves here as we get closer and closer and closer. Notre Dame and Miami. And I think it's important to always separate Notre Dame as an entity as opposed to Notre Dame on the football field. Pick up my reference point here with Feel Still. By the way, if you haven't purchased this yet, you got one day to do it, or you're going to feel like you're completely out of touch fan of college football. But Notre Dame is on page 196, and he talks about it's a team that's rebuilding in certain spots. They could be favored in every game, but he loves Notre Dame. He loves them. I think Notre Dame's going to beat Miami. I go, and I know it sounds redundant, but right? And you're the same way with Miami, even if you're a Miami fan. Show us. Show us what you got. So I'm going to go with the Irish to win down at Coral Gables. I'm not sold on Carson Beck in Miami. Are you? I'm not. Sideshow, all that crap with his girlfriend and $3 million, whatever it was. Really? We'll see. And that leaves us with one more game that happens on Monday, which is TCU going down to Chapel Hill to take on Bill Belichick in North Carolina. Wow. Important game for Bill Belichick and for Carolina football. Well, I mean, you can talk about it being the first game and being very important, but, every game's important. If you don't believe me, ask my 25-year-old girlfriend who wrote this response for me here in the press conference. A lot of newness in Carolina. TCU is a team that they go on the road and they play extremely well, usually early in the season, looking back. I don't know what we're going to see out of Bill Belichick as a college football coach. I know it'll probably look pretty organized. That I do know. I don't know long term what it's going to look like, but I know that they're going to look pretty organized because he's that guy. I think TCU is going to win the game. I think TCU is going to go down and beat Bill Belichick in his debut. I know you're shocked and stunned, aren't you? But that's what I'm doing. And now that leaves us with one game, and it happens on Sunday afternoon at 3:30, also in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and that is Virginia Tech and South Carolina. You heard Will, everybody at Tech Sideline, everybody's, went with South Carolina. Most of the predictions are very, very close. Most of them are very, very close. A lot on the line for both teams. South Carolina playing as a favorite, right? They are now a favorite to do something in the SEC. Preseason number 13, you're a favorite. Went through their desperation year last year with a strong finish. Just missed out on the playoff. Virginia Tech, everything's on the line for Brent Pry, his coaches, and the athletic director. Everything. That's not an overstatement. That's not a reach. Everything's on the line. Indulge me here. I'm going to pick out a few things that Phil still says first about South Carolina. He goes through the history, and he always finishes, with how Shane Beamer's built the program. We took over 2-8 team. Then he got the Mayo bath. You remember when they beat North Carolina? He goes through all of that. Last year, this is Phil Steele. South Carolina made my most improved list, and the Vegas over and under was only at 5.5. I said that I liked the over. South Carolina blew that 17-point lead against LSU. They lost by 3. They had losses to Ole Miss and Alabama. They were just 3-3, but then they beat 4 ranked teams in a row and won their last 6 to go to 9-3 before they lost in the bowl to Illinois. This year, they lost a lot of their stars with 5 NFL draft picks and 9 others signing unrestricted free agent contracts. The defense will not be nearly as dominant, and the special teams loses all their key players. They will be favored to open 4-1 and 5-0, but I really think it's going to be difficult for them to try to match their 9-win total. Obviously, Lenore Sellers is a special football player, a very special football player. He is the integral key to South Carolina being that team. Phil has Lenore Sellers as a third-team all-conference member. He has South Carolina picked in a tie for 10th in the conference. Talks about them having the nation's 4th toughest schedule. The D-line has been gutted. That was the team's best unit last year. And if you're going into it, the 2 most important units on any football team are your offensive line and your defensive line. South Carolina had to replace a lot of those guys who went on to the league and their defensive line. We don't really know exactly how that's going to look when they line up on Sunday. We know Virginia Tech lost every bit of its offensive line. That's a good thing. Addition by subtraction. 6 wins last year. They've lost all sorts of close games. Every time they're in a close game, they lose. They lose. Virginia Tech makes Phil Steele's most improved team list. Doesn't matter whether you're the first team or the 15th team. South Carolina made that team last year, and they broke through. So what I'm saying is it's week 1. We've talked about that a lot. There's been a lot of things that's happened already. Boise State favored last night. Go to South Florida, they look like a high school team getting run out of the place. And I didn't see anybody who blew me away last night that was heavily favored. Some teams ended up pulling away, like Duke and Elon. The spread is down to 7.5 points. I think it peaked at 9 a few weeks ago. It's lost 1.5 points down in Atlanta. South Carolina, when you have a desperate animal caged in a corner, it's the most difficult animal to try to get to calm down, right? Back against the wall, everything going against you, trying to reach in and grab it, you're going to end up with claw marks and bite marks all over your arm, much like, Balboa Creek if he's upset and he's hunting. Virginia Tech is a caged animal right now. And I'm not necessarily looking at massive improvement that's going to potentially come because of Brent Pry still being the head coach. What I am so impressed with is how he was able to find 2 guys, Coach Montgomery and Coach Siefkas, that come in here that have experienced everything. Everything. We know Coach Montgomery is an offensive guru. He dazzled when he was the head coach at Tulsa. He comes in with a wonderful reputation. He's got a quarterback that comes in with a brand new mindset. Shane Beamer's never been a favorite as a head coach, ever. He's never had to play from in front. He's always kind of worn a chip there, right? When he took over South Carolina, that's a program in the SEC that has a chip there. That chip is gone because they're now favored to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to pick Virginia Tech to win the game on Sunday afternoon down in Atlanta, 27-24. They have to change a lot of things in Blacksburg. One is winning close games. South Carolina is not the kind of program where I'm going to read all this hype and I'm going to go, whoa. Show me, Shane Beamer. You've been very inconsistent. Now you're a favorite. I think you're a little tight. I think the things that I hear, I think there's a little bit of, that inner pressure that's mounting. The expectation comes pressure. Virginia Tech has everything to lose. They have nothing to lose, right? They have to win this year or their season and their coaches are gone. These new coaches are all gone. Virginia Tech 27, South Carolina 24. Why not leave Atlanta with a good vibe? Why not? I trust the new coordinators at Virginia Tech a lot more than maybe people do because they haven't seen them perform. We don't know. It's unseen. South Carolina's unseen. Lenore Sellers makes a lot of mistakes. Chris Coleman talked about it right there, right? You just heard Will Stewart. He holds the ball a long time. When he has big runs, now he's talented enough to make his own mistakes look like planned plays. A lot of quarterbacks do that at the collegiate level. He's one of those guys. I'm going to buy into Kyron Drones changing how he viewed being a football player in Blacksburg. I think he had, in lieu of a better term, the come to Jesus type of realization that, you know what, I started to get caught up in things that I shouldn't. Jarrett Ferguson's going to make an impact on Sunday. You don't think Jarrett Ferguson's been using South Carolina as an impetus to get these guys working harder than they've worked in the weight room since Mike Gentry left? That whole country club society is gone. It's gone. So not only do I trust the new coordinators, I trust Jarrett Ferguson. Everybody, we haven't seen them because nobody's allowed. Everybody's talking about how these guys look. They brought in 30 new players. They brought in players. And you know what convinced me on this pick was Bill Roth yesterday. He was on yesterday. Think about all the new players and how much football they've played. He went through the list of new starters that came from programs, even if they were not power programs. 80 games here, 70 games here. He's made 50 starts here. You know what? That translates very well. There's a lot of pressure on Tech because they know they have to win. South Carolina's pressure is they're expected to win. Virginia Tech 27, South Carolina 24. Calling my shot. If I'm wrong, check with me on Monday. We'll go over it. It is what it is. I'm going with the underdog. Not a homer pick. I've just deciphered it as I've thought about it. Something to me, and maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe they'll look like Georgia. Something to me doesn't feel right about South Carolina being this sexy breakthrough team. And I might be completely wrong. And if I am, I'll be the first to admit it. I don't care. It is what it is. Virginia Tech 27, South Carolina 24. There you go. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy high school football tonight. Auburn High School, have a great time. The place looks great. I hope it's crazy up there. I hope you get the dub. It's going to be a great night. I hate I'm going to miss it. I'm working all weekend volleyball and then soccer broadcast, but it's going to be a great night of high school football. We'll review that coming up on Monday. See if Jermaine can jump on. I don't know if he'll be able to join us or not since it is Labor Day. I'll be here. We'll review everything that happened in high school football, and then we'll start looking ahead to week 1 of the National Football League the following weekend. So a lot going on. Enjoy the games. Have a great time. Be safe. Thank you so much for watching. Please, as always, like and subscribe here to the program. Please go back and watch the shows. 4th and Goal is up right now. You can go watch it. Jermaine will get you queued up and ready for tonight. And just tell peeps it's free. Hit subscribe. Got to get that subscription base up. We had a great week. Thank you so much. More views this week, more likes this week than any of the prior 2 weeks. So we're heading in the right direction. So thank you so much. And thank everyone for being part of the program. Coach Lynn, great to see you. Coach Lynn, we're working on the shelving. Mike's going to get it going so I can proudly reveal the Mount St. Mary's Uni. Rodney, have a good time. He's going to be there covering Radford and George Wythe. Great stuff. Great stuff. And Jen, get better. We missed you. I'm sitting here trying to fly solo without you. You left me in a very precarious situation, young lady. You know we love you, and I know you're sick or you'd be here. You wouldn't miss this for the world, and I know you feel bad. And I hope you get to travel this weekend. And we'll talk about it next week. You know, maybe if you feel better on Monday, you can jump on Monday because we're, I'll be off and school's probably closed. Maybe we'll work on that. All right, breaking news. Coach Lynn's coming on next week. Da, 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 da. Absolutely. Absolutely. Enjoy, everybody. Take care. Godspeed, and enjoy football this weekend. We'll see you on Monday. We're laboring for you here in the downstairs Family Fencing Studios on Monday. Be good, everybody. Enjoy the game.